Chapter 3. Luigi was born in 1885 by a well-off and wealthy provincial family, and until the age of 6 he lived a thoughtless infancy, full of joys and caresses. Then an adverse wind dropped on his family, and in 2 years, due to financial collapse, he found himself in a fierce misery. The poor Luigi, from one moment to another, was forced to abandon the games and find a job to earn a living. He started as a barber's assistant, and in return for his little services, he earned enough money to survive. During this period of pain, he also lost his father, and he was forced with the family to leave the house and move to Naples. At 14, as a real responsible man, he decided to leave for England. His mother at first was opposed, but eventually he managed to persuade her to let him go. In England, he met a friend who introduced him to a lord who had just got married. He and his wife liked Luigi very much, and soon after he became wealthy. After a few years, thanks to the help of the lord, he managed to get a place in a company that had hotels all over the world. So he started his travelling. This first work experience was very useful to him, as he was able to learn different languages. Luigi then was always charming and helpful to everyone, and for this reason his character was very much appreciated. That's why he immediately made his career successful. After a few years, he was hired as a hotel manager at the Hotel Ritz in London, and a few years later, with great joy, he was transferred to Hotel Excelsior in Rome. So after almost 10 years, he returned home with a good job, and he could finally embrace his sweet dear mother. However, his family was in Naples, and even though he had returned to Italy, Rome was still very different. His dream was, however, to work in Naples. After a year of hard work in Rome, with the great experience he had accumulated over the years, he heard of a vacancy at the Grand Hotel Santa Lucia in Naples. It was located in Partenope Rue, right in front of the Castle of Egg on the waterfront. He decided to apply for the position. Great was the emotion when, a few days later, he knew they had chosen him. Finally, satisfied, he thought, "My dream has come true. My future is assured." That employment gave him tranquility and security, and after a few years he decided to marry Virginia, a beautiful and modest girl he had known while walking through the gardens of the communal villa. Virginia gave him 3 children, the third of which was born 10 years after the second. But everyone was taught a good education, good manners, and respect for others. Vittorio, who was the eldest, knew from childhood the sacrifices his father made to carry the family forward. His mother was housewife, and so they only lived with his father's salary, and during that time, with only one income, it was quite difficult. Vittorio decided to contribute to support the family whilst continuing with his studies. Unknown to his father, he painted small postcards, which he left at a bar to be sold. He also gave private art lessons to young students. Vittorio was crazy about his father. He admired all his gesture, his way of doing, all of him. Finally, Vittorio graduated, and soon he found a job as a bank clerk in a city far from Naples. He was hired at a bank in Como. He was emotionally torn because the distance from his father made him suffer enormously. Yet he was a little full of joy because his father had a mouth less to feed, so he could devote more to the other 2 children. The distance then, in a sense, did not present a problem, as he wrote to his father every day. Luigi continued to work hard, without ever having the luxury, never spending unnecessarily, and trying to set aside an inheritance for his children if needed. And after years and years of hard work, he succeeded in setting aside a tidy sum which he was satisfied would be enough to support them. Unfortunately, the war was coming, and Luigi, on the 30th of October 1940, also lost his job at the hotel where he worked, as he was required by the German aviation. He was looking for ways to do some casual work, but that was not enough, and to survive, he was forced to draw on his children's savings. Then, during the wartime, there was also the Depression. Prices increased dramatically, and those few savings accumulated during the years of hard work were almost completely drained. Vittorio was very attached to his father, and he demonstrated it all the time. For his 62nd birthday, he wrote the following poem, which his daughter Virginia performed. For the birthday of the Luigi grandfather. Words heard by me and Dad. Grandfather, today is your birthday, and with my dad who so loves you, we came to give you many wishes and to embrace you as you agree. Grandpa knew how many times we have sighed this day. For this tender and infinite joy, the heavenly heart is thanked. Dad does not speak, his mouth is silent, but I know what he feels in his heart, and what he feels I hear it too. To you, my little grandfather, an infinite love. 62 are few. Grandfather, 100 are the happy years we wish you. In our hug that you hear all what we want to say and we do not say. From this poem one can understand the immense love that Vittorio felt for his father. Unfortunately, at age 64, Luigi was sick of an incurable illness. The only person to know it was Vittorio, whom the doctor told in strict confidence. Vittorio realised that now, for their father, there was nothing left they could do. At the foot of his bed, he looked at him and thought what he could do to make his end less painful. With an excuse, he went away, walked over to the front door, and without any hesitation, he went to the Santa Lucia. The owner came up to him saying, "Why do you come here? What can I do for you?" Vittorio looked at him, words stunted out of his mouth. With an unheard amount of effort, restraining his emotion, he said, "My father is sick. Today the doctor visited him and issued a painful sentence. My father is suffering of an incurable illness, and his end is not very far. You, who have always appreciated him, for about 20 years his qualities, and above all else fidelity, please make a last act of faith, love and friendship. Give him a few moments of serenity before death. I pray you. Phone him, and without making any mention of my intervention, ask if my brother Mario, whom my father was already talking about, is still available to occupy a vacancy in this hotel." At these words, the owner, who knew him since he was a child, and knew what his feelings were towards his father, was astonished. Vittorio noticed a slight veil of sadness in his eyes. He heard him say in a loud voice, "I admire you, Vittorio. Go back home. In 1 hour I'll call your dad." They stood up and embraced with so much conviction. Vittorio came home to his father, and after a few hours he heard the phone ring. He heard his mum say, "Sure, Commander. Luigi is here. I will fetch him." Luigi slowly picked up the phone's handset. Vittorio looked at him excitedly and saw his father's face turn from a sad mask to a mask of joy. After the phone call he heard his father saying, "Thank you. You have heard my prayer." And with the smile on his lips, he gently passed. In 1936, Luigi had written the following will. To my Virginia and my children. With this letter, I want to make a small nod to make sure that my will be respected, even if there was some unintentional mistake due simply to my little practice. The purpose of this writing is so that all of you in my house know what I possess, facilitating you if I fail. Know that from my honest work, and even more from the wisdom of my Virginia, I was in the space of several years of righteous and honourable work, to wrap a decent capital that for a worker cannot be indifferent. The house we live in, as you know, is my property, bought in cash. In the safe deposit box there are 80,000 lire in good debt to the 5% public debt issued in 1935 with expiration of 1956. If the above-mentioned securities have varied, my thought will make it a note. The first recommendation I make is this. Try to be always united, remove disagreements, never resort to lawyers. To these my modest economies, labour and priests, I wish you all to give the right value. You certainly do not know what my job was because you were so small, but it certainly made you closer to your beloved mummy. I do not want to tell you how they will have to be reparted among you, because you are all dear to me, but it would be my wish that the smallest Mario deserves special treatment, because he is the smallest, and he has certainly received the least, even for his education and for his studies. My beloved Virginia will be the sole administrator of everything whilst she is alive. The day that she passes, it will be for you 3 brothers to share what you have between you. I am sure my Vittorio will want to guide his 2 brothers, so that the portion that will be allocated to them will not be wasted or stolen by anyone, reminding them that this money is the fruit of their father's sweat and mother's deprivations. What a warmest recommendation I could do for your beloved mummy, I do not know myself. Praise her, have affectionate cares for her, always be neighbours, relieve her with all the pain of her word, give her in all her ideas, have affection for her and respect for her. Only I can tell you that she was my true and affectionate companion. If you have ever experienced a few quarrels, they were nonsense, that have fortunately succumbed to beings who love each other. Remember to keep it from your wives and children. And when God will call her, give her all the honour she deserves, her exemplary and good mother. My desire is to have her close to me, even in the world of eternity, and together we will pray the good God who will protect you from all danger. And when you find yourself in trouble, it is comforting to find and vent near all of your sorrows. You will see that by doing so, you will find comfort and serenity. Have faith in God. Love him, and when time will allow you to go to church, so will refresh your penances of purgatory. And you 3 brothers loved fraternally, helping each other, never distract them from each other. And yet there is a contrast to the ideas you remember that you are brothers who have the same blood. Trust your thoughts, your sorrows, your pleasures, and teach your children this doctrine, so that it is transmitted to our next generations. Be with your strong but good children, and yet some of them are sorry to seek forgiveness. Bring them back on the right path. I would like to be eternal for you to be near and vigilant. But, unfortunately, life is a passage. The day God will call me, be strong, bear with resignation, and be patient, that I will protect you from the other world if I am permitted. No newspaper ads, transport of utmost modesty, no flowers, Of that money, give to charity to some needy family. Buy me a tomb that will serve all of us for eternity. My longing is to be united for ever and ever. Again, I recommend you my Virginia. Encourage it within your presence and give it life and hope again. If some day you were to sell the house, I would recommend that you do not lose too much money, because this is hard-earned money that I paid for it. And now, my dear ones, I apologise if in the course of my life I could not fulfil the greatest duties towards you. But I assure you that I have done all my best, and that no weight lies on my conscience. I did not hurt anyone. Be blessed, and good God protect you. I kiss you with the tenderest affection. Your father and husband, Luigi. Behind the page there was the following postscriptum that had aroused the irony of the merchant. Rome, June the 8th, 1944. I want to rectify what I had in assets. There is nothing left. All has been spent in Naples after leaving Santa Lucia, and in Rome, where for the sake of life and not starving, I changed all the titles, and the only thing remained is the house owned. We thank the war and the Black Depression in Rome. I do not go on about this much longer, because I'm bitter about it.